yo, I want to speak. I'm like, I ain't really got, that many people for you these next couple of days. So then he's like, yo, all right, I'll come in a couple of weeks. All right. So this young man right here, Jamaal, he's gonna come speak to you guys. Freshman college, right? Yup, he can step right in. Yup, exactly, yup.
To HBCU, a lot of guys, I don't know if you're approaching college, but I highly recommend HBCU, top-of-the-line school. HBCU, the culture is just different. I went to a PWI my freshman year. I didn't like it. It was a small school. It just wasn't my style. And plus, it was on top of a mountain. Like, imagine a mountain, it's still on that mountain. So it's in the middle of nowhere. And the only way to get food delivered was Domino's. So there was no DoorDash, no Uber Eats, no Uber, none of that. So you couldn't really get anywhere unless you had your own car, you had a friend take you somewhere. But I'm gonna tell you all the story, right? And if you watch anime, if you like anime, then you're going to enjoy the story. With the guy that had the My Hero Academia shirt, is he in here? There he is. So you're gonna like this story. So long ago, there was this village, right? It was full of warriors, and they battled each other all the time, one-on-one. Similar to how we play basketball one-on-one, right? They just did it for fun. But you can't have your warriors dying in battle because they're just doing it for fun, right? That would be pretty bad. You're gonna be there to take the village. So the village found out, where you could be stabbed and struck without damaging any vital organs or any major arteries, right? So before battle, they would paint their bodies in the areas where you can be stabbed, right? Without being damaged that way. Because you would die, that would be pretty bad. So we have this one warrior named Saitama, right? Let's just say he's a level 7 warrior, slightly above average. In this village, they didn't have levels, they just looked, it was an eye test kind of thing, and you can see like, oh, this guy is a warrior class warrior. So let's say the highest level is level 10, right? And the lowest is level 1. Above level 10, you have your 7 high shiro, right? In order to beat 1 to 7 high shiro, you have to beat 1 to 7 high shiro, right? And above that level, you have the top tier 5 kage, right? And among those 5 kage, you have 2 headbands. The number 2 headband, the number 1 headband. You can only challenge number 1 if you win number 2. So you have to challenge number 2 and then challenge number 1 to be number 1. And if you're number 1, that means you're a god level warrior. Best in the land, best ever. You're the person we call, you can take on a whole army by yourself. That's what that means if you have the number 1 headband. But Saitama, he doesn't really care to be a high shiro or a kage. However, he would like to be revered as one though. And the thing about it is that he has this almost psychotic, competitive spirit instilled in him. Now his companion, on the other hand, Ichigo, he doesn't have that same competitive spirit, but he is a better warrior than Saitama. Let's say he's a level 9 warrior, right? Close to level 10, but level 9. One of the major differences between these two in the battles is that Saitama has never won a single battle. Although Ichigo is undefeated. Why is that? Well, the reason is that Saitama has never fought anybody on a level below him or on the same level as him. So he's never fought levels 1 through 6, never fought a fellow level 7, but he's only fought 8s, 9s, and 10s. Ichigo, on the other hand, has never fought anybody above level 6. He's fought a lot of 2s, 3s, some 4s, a couple 5s, even fewer 6s. Think about that for a second. Think about who these people are fighting, and think about their records. I want to ask you, who do you have more respect for? I'm asking you, who do you have more respect for? Who do you have more respect for? Exactly. But he gets mocked quite a bit for losing so much. But Ichigo gets praised because not a lot of people really know who exactly they're fighting. You just hear the record and like, that guy must not be that good. That's all they know. But what I want to share with you is a quote, and I want to read it to you, so I'll make sure I get it right. Is that victory is in the quality of competition, not the final score. I'm saying it again. Victory is in the quality of competition and not the final score. So Saitama, he gets into this battle, he's fighting a level 10 warrior, and he gets beat up pretty bad. He has damage done to his optic nerve, which connects your eye to your brain. So after the fight, he was blind in his right eye. Had broken ribs, cuts, because they can only use swords, and it's also hand-to-hand combat. So he had cuts everywhere, bruises, and he even did a kick, leading with his shin, and he snapped his shin in half. And that's what made him incapable of fighting. That's why the fight had to stop. So he's in bed, he's healing up, And his friends and family come up to him saying, please, can you please stop fighting? What's the point? You're doing all this training just to lose anyway. How are you going to be a warrior to protect our village and you can't even fight? You have a limp now. You're nowhere near as athletic as you once was. You can't see out of one of your eyes. Please just stop. I'm begging you, please just stop doing this. But however, he continues to go to bed at the same place. Because there's a place where the sun shines on him in the morning, so that way it wakes him up at daybreak. He went to bed in that same spot, got up the next morning, grabbed his sword, went outside, and just started practicing his swings. Didn't know why, didn't even bother to question why, because even if he did, he wouldn't know the answer to it. He wouldn't know what caused him to get up that early, or what caused him to go out and work on his craft. He just knew he had an obsession for it, the thrill to challenge the best of the best. There was just something about it that just excited him in challenging the best of the best. So one day, they go to this tavern, right? And all the warriors are there and they're praising Ichigo, celebrating him for his most recent victory, right? Saitama, they're sitting there to check on him and say, hey, yo, man, we heard about your recent fight. You all right? How you doing? And he said, yeah, man, I'm coming along. I'm all right. We're doing pretty well. The rehabilitation process is going all right. So they shift from that to start mocking him a little bit, right? And then kind of praising Ichigo. And then, they're even saying, how can you protect the village when you're losing all these battles? Like, what kind of warrior are you? So Ichigo, annoyed as he is, he says to them, you don't find your real calm. What you mean I don't find your real calm? That's what Ichigo says. You never fought anybody who's better than you, or just as good as you. I'll fight someone right now who's better than me. Okay, fine, go fight Vegeta then. Vegeta is a level 10, borderline Hashira warrior. If there was an 8 spot for a Hashira, it'll be him. He fought 3 Hashira, had them on the ropes, but he lost all 3. But he was almost there into being Hashira tier. So they fight scheduled a week in advance. Everybody excited, thinking there's going to be a bloodbath between the two. Battle of Goliaths between Ichigo, who's undefeated, and Vegeta, who's a borderline Hashira. The fight didn't even last 20 seconds. You know why? Anybody guess why? Exactly. None of his weaknesses were exposed. His technique was sloppy. He was predictable and readable. Vegeta knew what he was going to do before he even did it. All of Ichigo's swings, Vegeta just ducking, dodging, weaving. Eventually just grabbed his sword and stabbed him in one of the areas I told you about. And the fight was over just like that. Everybody was baffled, couldn't believe it. Everybody just questioning, couldn't fathom as to why someone who was undefeated, how could they lose a battle so easily? So what Saitama does is that he goes and challenges Vegeta, right? And that fight is scheduled 3 months in advance to give Saitama a little bit more time to heal up, right? And to train as well. So one thing he did was that he would look at the reflection of the sword so that way he could see on his right side. See how innovative he had to become? And the thing is, Saitama knew why Vegeta lost. He knew that you can't get away with the things you do against those lower levels, against high-level elite warriors. So because Saitama's weaknesses were exposed, he realized he had a weak shin. So he would do something called the iron shin technique. Go up to a tree and just kick it repeatedly. So that way it would cause micro tears and breaks in your shin. So that when you go to bed at night, it heals overnight and your shin is stronger. Like iron, right? So 3 months go by, people not really expecting much of this fight, but this fight was what people thought Vegeta versus Ichigo was going to be. These guys are going on and on and on. Fists pounding against flesh, swords clashing, cuts and bruises, broken ribs, broken knuckles, bloody knuckles. These guys are tired, fatigued, sluggish. Everything they do is just in slow motion. However, Saitama was able to get a clean stab in Vegeta's leg and the fight was over. Saitama had finally won. Another quote I want to read to you all, I just want to make sure I get it right. If you train hard, you'll not only be hard, but you'll be hard to beat. If you train hard, you'll not only be hard, but you'll be hard to beat. And Saitama trained very hard, going against the best of the best. And if you want to be the best, you got to beat the best. And to beat the best, you simply are the best. If you want to be mentioned in a conversation with the top dog, the best of the best, you have to go up against them and challenge yourself. If you are afraid to go against someone that is better than you, then you're throwing all the training that you put out the window. And you probably train just as much as them, if not harder. So I'm telling you, do not throw your training out the window because you're afraid to go against someone that's better than you. You should be thrilled to go against someone that's better than you. And ever since then, people stopped going against people that was a lesser level than them. So it was hard to be another side Tom. It was hard to be a level 4 to go up against a level 6. Unless you was a top-notch level 4, borderline level 5 to go up against a level 5. Everybody else wanted to go against someone else that was just as good as them or better. And one of the reasons why Michael Jordan is revered and respected as the greatest of all time is because of his competitive spirit. In 91, went up against Magic Johnson, the greatest point guard of all time. Took that matchup personally. Said, this is my league now. That's when he won his first championship. In 1992, went against the second best shooting guard in the league at the time, in Clyde Drexler. He said, if this is the second best, I'm going to show you just how big the gap is between me and the second best. In 96, went against the best defensive point guard, and Gary Payton. Don't matter who's guarding me, I still dropped them all. In 97, Karl Malone won MVP over Jordan. Fine, I'll show you who really is the most valuable player in the league. The reason why Muhammad Ali is revered as the greatest of all time is because 3 years removed from boxing, went up against George Foreman. Mike Tyson before Mike Tyson, the hardest hitting man in the world. People thought he was insane. Are you insane going against George Foreman 3 years removed from boxing? And won in 8 rounds. Because he was competitive, it don't matter. I'm gonna show you how great I am. And that's exactly what he said. So I'm urging you to feed your competitive spirit. To be competitive and compete against others. And that's what I'm urging you to do. Thank you for listening. Y'all check out my podcast. I debate about sports and music. It's called the Overlooked and Underrated Podcast. You can type it in on Google. I'm on all platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio. Any podcast platform that you think of, I'm on it. And I also have a YouTube. It's called Reverend Roland. The name Reverend came from when I was back in middle school. Everybody used to say, why are you always preaching to us like a reverend? And my last name is Roland, so it kind of just came together. Yeah.
Reverend Roland.
Thanks, y'all.
Good work.